800 years ago, a sword was forged that would inspire fear, admiration, and legend across continents. They called it Damascus steel. It was not merely a weapon. It was a symbol, a blade that carried the skill of master blacksmiths, the secrets of distant lands, and the ambitions of empires. Long before modern steel was common, swords were the lifeblood of armies and warriors. They were tools of survival, instruments of power, and symbols of honor. In the Middle East, from the 9th to the 17th centuries, blacksmiths created a blade unlike any other, one that became the stuff of myth and science combined. Its name, whispered among soldiers and rulers alike, was Damascus steel. This steel was extraordinary because of the material it was made from. Wootz steel, originating in India and Sri Lanka. Wootz was crucible steel, rich in carbon and impurities, that, when forged correctly, produced a unique microstructure. This structure gave the blade a rare combination of hardness and flexibility, a quality unmatched by most swords of its time. Each ingot of Wootz carried within it a secret recipe, refined through centuries of experimentation and mastery. Traders transported these ingots along ancient trade routes, weaving a network of knowledge across continents, and making these swords highly sought after by kings, warriors, and collectors alike. The forging process itself was a marvel of precision and patience. Blacksmiths heated the steel to glowing temperatures, hammered it meticulously, folded it repeatedly, and cooled it carefully. Some masters coated parts of the blade with clay before quenching, a technique that hardened the edge while leaving the spine flexible. This careful balance made the sword nearly indestructible in combat. Each hammer strike was deliberate, each fold a step toward perfection. Some swords took months to finish, and the very best became treasured artifacts of both function and beauty. The resulting Damascus blade was more than functional. Its surface carried mesmerizing patterns, flowing like water, rippling along the steel in waves that were both decorative and scientifically significant. These patterns were caused by layers of steel and carbon interacting during the forging process, creating what is now admired as one of the most beautiful metals ever crafted by human hands. Warriors marveled at its appearance, and tales spread that these swords were magical, capable of feats no ordinary blade could perform. Legends describe the extraordinary capabilities of Damascus steel. They said it could bend under pressure without breaking, slice through silk in midair, and even sever weaker swords. These stories crossed seas and borders from the Middle East to Europe, inspiring both awe and fear. Yet behind every legend there was the truth of science, a delicate interplay of carbon content, temperature, and technique that few could replicate. The mystery of how exactly these blades were crafted elevated them to almost mystical status, but history has its shadows. By the 18th century, the secrets of true Damascus steel had vanished. No blacksmith could reproduce the exact method. Wars, migration, secrecy, and the decline of certain trade routes contributed to the loss. Historians still debate how such a highly advanced metallurgical technique could disappear so completely. Today, only fragments remain, preserved in museums and private collections. Each surviving blade is a silent witness to the skill, artistry, and scientific ingenuity of its makers. Damascus steel was not merely a weapon of war, it was a symbol of status, power, and refinement. Owning such a sword signaled wealth and prestige. Kings and rulers prized these blades. Warriors sought them for the battlefield. Collectors admired them as works of art. The swords were often engraved, inlaid with precious metals, or adorned with jewels, emphasizing their cultural as well as functional value. In many ways, the sword represented the pinnacle of medieval craftsmanship, bridging utility and aesthetics in a way few objects ever have. Even today, collectors, historians, and metallurgists study these swords with reverence. Modern technology has unraveled some of the secrets of Damascus steel. Metallurgists can replicate its patterns and understand the material properties that made it so exceptional. Controlled carbon content, layering, and heat treatment explain much of its flexibility and sharpness. Yet the exact historical method of producing Wootz steel, the key ingredient of original Damascus blades, remains elusive. Every attempt to replicate it captures some essence, but never the perfection of the originals. This combination of science and mystery keeps the legend alive. The impact of Damascus steel extended beyond the battlefield. It influenced artistic design, cultural perception of weapons, and even inspired later metallurgical innovations. The knowledge of folding, heat treatment, and patterning would echo in sword-making techniques across continents. Collectors and museums celebrate these swords not just as tools of war, but as symbols of human ingenuity and dedication. The allure of Damascus steel lies in its dual nature. On one side, it is scientific, an early example of precision metallurgy. On the other, it is mythical, a sword shrouded in stories of magic and legendary feats. The patterns on the blade tell a story of chemistry, physics, and artistry. They're not mere decoration, they're evidence of centuries of experimentation, trial, and mastery. Each wave in the steel is a fingerprint of the craftsman, a signature of both human skill and material science. As we examine surviving blades in museums or images of blacksmiths attempting to replicate the ancient methods, it becomes clear that Damascus steel was far ahead of its time. The swords of medieval Europe, impressive as they were, could not match the combination of hardness, flexibility, and beauty found in a well-forged Damascus blade. This is why European nobility and warriors sought these blades from the East. They were not only functional, they were legendary. The story of Damascus steel reminds us that innovation can be lost. Techniques perfected over centuries can vanish due to war, migration, or secrecy. Yet their impact endures, inspiring generations of metallurgists, historians, and enthusiasts. The blade is a bridge between art and science, history and legend, fact and myth. In the end, Damascus steel is more than a sword. It is a testament to human ingenuity, to the marriage of patience, skill, and creativity. It shaped battles, inspired awe, and left a legacy that continues to captivate us today. Its story is one of mastery lost and rediscovered, of the power hidden in human hands, and the mystery that still lingers in every shimmering pattern etched across its surface. Damascus steel, sword that bent legends and history alike. Was it magic, mastery, or something lost forever? The answer may lie in the steel itself. If you liked this content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.